Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Free Exchange of Ideas. Today is Monday. It's what's going to be, I think, my hyper-political day. If you're not really political, you're probably not going to enjoy this, but, you know, worth a shot. If you don't like it, don't come back next Monday. Although I'd really, really hate that. I'd really like to see you come back. So today, it turns out that Fauci lied multiple times to Congress and to the people of the United States about COVID-19 and its origins. And there's a new investigation out that says Fauci commissioned the paper that denied the lab leak in Wuhan weeks before testifying to Congress. So he knew where it came from because he sent the funds to do that. But I'm going to go backwards here. The reason I tell you this is because I think at this time, and I don't know if maybe I'm just, you know, a little naive, because I can go back to several things. But if we just go back to 2016, the run-up to the presidency, right? At this time, this is where I'm going to start, in essence. Trump has in essence, run everyone off from the RNC and has a clear field now, a clear shot at the presidency. Hillary Rodham Clinton and Bernie Sanders are still running. The DNC goes to Bernie Sanders and says, look, we'll give you a basket of money if you drop out and let Hillary just run unopposed. And he seems like kind of a greedy guy, so he took it. He absolutely took it. On top of the money that he was already being given at $22 a time. I know that's a very bad Sanders, but it's what I have. So, with all that being said, here's the deal. So, starting with Bernie Sanders and then going into the Steele dossier, which at the time was not being bought really by anyone except the DNC, and apparently they were paying off the FBI to buy it because Mr. Comey did say a word about it. As a matter of fact, Mr. Comey backed it and fought Trump tooth and nail over it. That started the first impeachment process, which began on day 2, I believe, of Trump's presidency. Now, I'm not going to just stick with Trump because there's a lot of garbage going on, and I'm not going to just be negative to the DNC or negative to the RNC and that whole group. I'll be negative to both, believe me. But this timeline is surprisingly negatively democratic. And I say that with the full intent of opening up the RNC with a precision knife as well. But to start with, Clinton calls Trump supporters a basket of deplorables. I'm not sure how she thought that was going to get her more votes. You can't really piss on half of any group and expect them to go, oh yeah, well that sounds like a great, I'll just turn to your house. No, that didn't fly for her. It won't fly for anybody else. Then they run with the Steele dossier, which they ran for 4 whole years. Actually 5, I guess. But prior to Trump taking office, and then through his entire presidency, they ran with that. And that pencil neck geek that Trump called one of my representatives, not my personal representative, thank God, but Adam Schiff lied to Congress, he lied to the American people, and he expects to take over Senator Feinstein's seat come this next run-up to the Senate. Nancy Pelosi backed him for that as well. starting to see what I see, or maybe I'm just being paranoid. We'll work on it. So, let's see, I'm just checking my notes here real quick. Right, so 6 months after Bernie quits, he now has 3 houses. Dude's never had more than one, and that one house isn't awesome. But now he has a lake house, he has a house in the city. Where are we going with this? Bernie Sanders has been a poor senator for almost his entire career until he quit running for president, at least in 2016. So after that, I'm going to probably bounce a little bit, but Comey and the FBI also back the Steele dossier. And then, on top of all that, Comey says, well, you know, when Hillary Clinton had that private server and she destroyed all those phones, she didn't really know what she was doing, so we're not going to prosecute, in essence. And it's like, what do we all got to do to get some real life here? I mean, I get they don't want to prosecute her primarily because people who piss her off die of suicide, 2 bullets to the head, 2 bullets to the chest, got run over by a car, disappeared. Stuff happens around the Clintons. Lots of bad stuff happens around the Clintons. Their whole foundation is about as dirty as it gets, and I have no idea how they get through the IRS. I really don't. That audit should be absolute nasty messaging to them. But, okay, so I'm getting off on a tangent. I apologize. So after that, we get COVID-19. Fauci and the other young lady, I don't recall her name, I'm sorry, with the scarves. And Fauci says, yeah, you don't have to wear a mask. It's not that big a deal. And then, yeah, you have to wear a mask because, you know, 2 or 3 masks would be better. How can we go from 0 masks and we're all fine to 2 or 3 masks and, you know, that would be better. Then Fauci and several people in the Senate and Congress get on board to BioNTech, Pfizer, and who was the other big one? The one that I took, I forgot. Anyway, they dropped shitloads of money into that stock, and it all goes up a good deal. Had I been paying more attention, I suppose I probably could have got in on some of that, but we were all broke at the time. We weren't, you know, able to get out of the house. We weren't able to go do things. We weren't able to, a lot of us weren't able to go to work. I was, thankfully, because what I do is considered first responder. I am not a peace officer. I am not a firefighter. I'm not a paramedic. Just the job that I have, I got lucky enough to be considered a first responder, and therefore I was able to continue working. So we get through all of this, and then all of a sudden there's questions about Wuhan and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, Wuhan, China. And we find out that Fauci is involved in that kind of peripherally, at least according to him. He did not give money directly to them. However, he did give them money to a foundation that turned around and gave that money to Wuhan. See, that way it's kind of like washed. It's very mob-like in that manner. You wash the money because I didn't do it. I gave it to these guys. What these guys do with it afterward, I don't know. But that's literally penny for penny. That money that Fauci gave to them went to Wuhan. Now, I mean, we all kind of consider China almost third world in how they do business, how they build, how they structure their stuff. Their freeways are tearing up. Their buildings fall, you know, with heavy traffic. If they have an earthquake, it can destroy an entire city. Very much like Turkey and Jordan right now. Jordan, right? I'm going to guess. If I'm wrong, please don't hesitate to tell me. I'm sure you won't. At any rate, so we really don't think of them as a very technologically advanced country. Although, amazingly enough, they actually are. And, hold on just one second. I just got to write this down real quick. Okay, so, but they are. And they're not stupid. They're just, I don't know. I don't want to say lazy because I think that's wrong as well, but they're not as careful about some of the things that they do. Now, I believe, and this is my personal belief, you can take it or leave it or throw it out the window, I really don't care. This is what I believe. I believe that China was intentionally working with the bat virus and trying to build it. As a matter of fact, I remember a report, and I haven't seen it since. I can't find it again. But I remember reading a report that said, I think it was from Norway. I want to say Norway. That's that area, though. That said they found the virus. They pulled it apart and found the genome that identifies that specific virus or its base. And they said that base has been sold to Wuhan, and everywhere else it's been locked down or destroyed, according to that report, if I remember correctly. But I do remember them saying for certain that that particular virus with those genetic markers was in Wuhan. And those genetic markers are in COVID-19, which is an extension of the base virus that Wuhan had. The fact that it started in Wuhan, and the fact that we learned later that the first two cases of what turned out to be COVID-19 were technicians from Wuhan lab. First two cases. I have no idea how we learned that, because I would think China would lock that shit down hard. Nonetheless, that's what happened. So Fauci's in on this the whole way, and evidently when the Congress and the Senate decide, pardon me, who gets to build this this vaccine, they all know to dump money into that stock. Because they know, to Merck, that was the third one, Merck, I think. Anyway, they know that, that those are going to be worldwide, and that's going to be a ton of money. And then they promised them, all of them, to be free from lawsuits or anything down the road. No, you're fine. We understand that you're just trying to build from old. And they were given shit tons of money from several countries on the planet to make these vaccines that they didn't have to repay. They weren't loans, they were given money. So, that's a whole twisted ball of wax all by itself. Then we have, because I put them out of order, I'm sorry. Joe Biden wins the presidency. Just before he wins the presidency, there's a rumor going around that his son Hunter has a laptop that has been left in a shop to be repaired. The guy repaired it. He had it for a year. He said, "Now I better figure out what the hell's going on with this thing. Let's try to get back to the guy, because he didn't have contact number. He was hoping to find something in the computer itself." And he says, "Wait a minute, this doesn't look good. Maybe I should turn it into somebody." So he does. The New York Times, I think, was the first one to get it, or get information that he had it. And then, of course, the Trump administration jumps all over this. Grab that thing. Let's open it up and see what we see, and kick that loose. I'm not sure how that works without warrants, because I don't think there's probable cause to go through somebody's laptop like that. But this is, again, politics, and politics play on the sideboard. They don't play down the middle. So that turns out ugly for Hunter Biden, but the DNC is able to quash it through Facebook and Twitter and other sites, I imagine, but those two are the big ones. And everybody that says, "Oh yeah, this could be big," gets crushed as well. Nope, you're talking out of your ass. We're gonna, kick you off the site or suspend your account for a short period of time or whatever. And they quash it. They quash it all. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've never seen this kind of overreach by these guys. I mean, my Facebook account was busier than a one-armed paper hanger before that, and I never heard a word from Facebook about anything that I did. Anything that I did or wrote or liked. If you liked an article about that, they would suspend your account. Because people got to see that you liked it and they'll follow to go look at it. They removed it from their site altogether to the best of their ability, both Facebook and Twitter. You couldn't find anything on dang it, I'm sorry. This thing that I'm talking to you on right now. You couldn't find anything about COVID-19 or the laptop or Biden's inability to think or speak for short periods of time. Anything like that. Anything like that. And you got smacked hard by these companies. Sorry. And it's bad. It's very bad. It's bad for the United States. It's bad for free speech. It's bad for those companies. But it took years to get bad for those companies. And even then, they played the, oh, I don't know, I'm just the CEO. I don't do the day-to-day stuff, which is a load of shit. We know for a fact that Zuckerberg does day-to-day at Facebook, or did day-to-day at Facebook all the time. So he's a load of shit. He's just a lying bastard. And I'm pretty sure that skinny, bearded twerk ate 3 times a day at weird hours or something. Yeah, he's a little psycho as well. But he got out. I mean, he said, you know what? If I get out now, I could probably get away with all of that, and I just walk away from it. So, also, the Hunter Biden thing, the thing that kind of hangs on me is, I don't know if it was him, because I've heard another report that said it was his wife that threw this gun away. But they threw it in a garbage bin that was very near a school. And so that's, like, really bad. Also, Hunter Biden, without doubt, nobody can question the guy is a drug addict. Now, if he's currently clean, he's still a drug addict. But at the time he bought the gun, he wasn't clean. And enough people in law enforcement know it. And so when he filled out his form to say, yeah, no, I'm good, I don't do any drugs or anything like that, that was a lie. And that was a lie on a government form so that he could carry a handgun, or so that he could have a handgun. And in doing so, he caused himself to have a felony. However, because he was, at the time, Vice President Biden's son, nothing happened to him. If that had been you or me, we'd be doing time. Still be doing time. And now, I'm going to get right to the end of it, January 6th. January 6th was a clusterfuck. No doubt about it. It was bad. But there's enough questions that FBI, NSA, somebody in the alphabet companies was involved in that, drawing and creating the havoc and chaos that was there. So was Nancy Pelosi. President Trump wanted to send National Guardsmen to surround the Congress so that they could be protected. Nancy Pelosi said, nah, we don't need it. We're good. And then Nancy Pelosi told the Capitol Police Department captain to draw down some of his people. He had a skeleton crew there. And that skeleton crew had to know that crowd was coming down the road. They make a lot of noise when they're that big. Did they think it could go south? I'm sure somebody did. Obviously, President Trump thought it could go south. You know what? I got to back up just a little bit because I have been just really hard on the DNC. But let me say this. From day one, the RNC wasn't with him. They didn't want to have anything to do with him. They thought he was insane. Not technically, not certifiably. They just thought, he's going to fuck with our power structure, and we don't like that. Nobody likes that. But when the DNC got really serious about trying to get rid of him, recognizing that they couldn't get it past the Senate without, I think it was bringing on 6 or 7 senators to agree, that's when the Republicans gelled and became one, a solid wall. Almost. Except for that woman from Montana? One of the Dakotas. I forget. The blonde. There's just so much corruption and so much graft and so much money laundering going on in D.C. It's more than I recall ever seeing before. Probably 2012 or 2016, to be honest. And again, I could be as naive as it gets. I know there's obviously other grafters. I mean, if you want to go all the way back to 72 with Nixon, or further back with Spiro Agnew, I mean, it's government, it's politics, there's a lot of graft. However, these things right here, Clinton calling anybody's supporters a basket of deplorables is just so blind to what you... I don't know. She just could not possibly have been that stupid. I didn't think so. I didn't think it was possible. She's a very bright woman, individual. I don't like to say bright woman. She's a very bright individual. And she did not... That had to be written someplace. I don't think that's something that she came up with off the top of her head. Could have been. Could have been. She's kind of mean. But I don't think she's stupid by any measure. The RNC spent the first, I want to say 90 or 100 days of Trump's presidency not doing a fucking thing. Not backing him in any way, shape, or form. Which is why he had so many executive, what do they call those? Executive proclamations or whatever. Because nobody was helping him. Even afterward, when he's being slammed by the DNC and Congress, Democrats in Congress and the Senate, I mean, crushed. I honestly, his ego must be so monstrous as to say, I don't give a fuck what y'all think. I'm doing this shit right now. I don't need your help. Because even the RNC, even all the Republicans in the Senate and the House were not helping him. He didn't have a cabinet for a month. Didn't know he didn't have a cabinet. Did not know because nobody told him. He didn't have anybody in his inner group that understood the workings of the presidency well enough to tell him what he needed, what he didn't know. And he is he's a true businessman. If it doesn't work, break it and fix it. If it works, leave it the hell alone. And that's pretty much what he was doing. There's a bunch of stuff that I didn't like that he did. The bump stock ban, because it was a knee-jerk reaction, which I honestly did not expect from him. I probably should have. He's kind of a knee-jerk guy. But it seems to me, as a businessman, as his business goes forward, he thinks 3 or 4 steps ahead because you have to. I mean, in business, you have to think at least 3 or 4 steps ahead because you have to think ahead of your opponents or the people that are trying to get what you're trying to get. That kind of stuff. So, all that being said, when the Republicans turned and started backing him, primarily during the search for new justices, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, God bless her soul, I didn't agree with her a lot of times, but she was always solid in her thought process and in her speech and in her ability to do her job. She was rock solid. I can't take anything away from her. She believed what she believed wholeheartedly. and was willing to do whatever it took to move that forward within reason of law. And that's what I liked most about her. She never stepped outside the law to do her job. She did great. That being said, she is somebody that I will miss because I really enjoyed her. I enjoyed her thoughts. I enjoyed her work. Again, like I said, I didn't agree with her all the time. She was a lefty. It doesn't mean that she's wrong ever. It means that she thinks differently than I think. And I, for one, tried to understand her thought process. That way I could understand what it was that we were seeing or hearing. She was one of the most prolific people on Supreme Court. And making odd bedfellows, her and Scalia were best of friends. Lunch, dinners, meetings, just in general, great friends. I know that she missed him dearly when he passed away. Anyway, sorry, I got off on another little tangent. At any rate, I don't recall seeing this level of corruption in my government prior to, well, if I'm honest, probably prior to 2012 when Clinton took office. There was just so much surrounding the Clintons that I honestly, I didn't know what to do. I actually voted for him both times because I thought what he was doing in Arkansas and then what he did as a president were good things. I didn't see him. He was very middle of the road. I like that about him. I like that period. If you can see both sides of an issue, you're more likely to side on the more conservative side, just in general. You're less likely to split the baby in half or throw the baby out with bathwater. I think that's the same analogy. At any rate, I think that's all I got. If you have more or you want to have a discussion about this, please don't hesitate to leave a comment. God knows when I get comments, I do respond to them as best I can. And I try to keep up with you guys because, honestly, there isn't a whole bunch of you. And I'm just trying to figure out how to do the right thing here without, pissing off the algorithms. Any help you can give me is truly appreciated. I do love you. I miss you guys all week long when I don't get to talk to you. Thanks very much for listening. I do appreciate it. Live long, fight hard, win the day. See ya!